Steve and the Phantoms Prank Wars. It was a peaceful night in Minecraft, well, as peaceful as it could be. Steve was relaxing in his cozy wooden house, watching the stars through his glass window, when suddenly he heard a faint chuckle. "Did I leave my door open again?" Steve muttered. But before he could investigate, splat! A pie landed right in his face. "What the?" Steve wiped the goo off and looked around. No one was there. "Who threw that?" he yelled, but the only answer was a ghostly laugh echoing outside. And that's how Steve found himself in the middle of the Phantoms Prank Wars. The Phantom appears the next morning. Steve discovered his house had been covered in blocks of dirt. His garden had been rearranged to spell "gotcha," and even his pet sheep were dyed neon pink. "That's it!" Steve growled, shaking his fist at the sky. "Whoever's behind this, I'm coming for you." Just then, a phantom swooped down, cackling. "Ha! You should have seen your face, Steve." Steve grabbed his stone sword. "You did this?" "Relax, buddy," the Phantom said, doing a loop-de-loop. "I'm Fred. And you, my friend, are my new favorite target." Steve frowned. "Target? For what?" "For pranks, of course." Fred replied. "You're fun to mess with." Steve wasn't amused. "Oh yeah? We'll see how fun it is when I prank you back." Fred laughed harder. "You? Prank me? Good luck, pal. I'm a phantom, I can fly and disappear." But Steve wasn't one to back down. He rolled up his sleeves. Challenge accepted. Prank War Round 1, the Phantom strikes. That night, Fred stepped up his game. Steve woke up to find his bed replaced with slime blocks, his chest full of dirt, and a sign that read, "Sleep tight, slime boy." Steve glared at the sign. "Oh, it's on now." Prank War Round 2, Steve fights back. Steve spent the day building an elaborate trap. He dug a hole near his house, covered it with carpets, and placed a sign that said, "Free cookies here." Fred couldn't resist. "Cookies? Don't mind if I do." The moment Fred landed, whoosh! He fell into the pit. Steve popped out, laughing. "Gotcha, Fred." But Fred just floated out of the pit. Hello? I'm a phantom. Gravity doesn't work on me." Steve groaned. "Right. Forgot about that." Prank War Round 3, things get wacky. Fred retaliated by filling Steve's house with chickens. Everywhere Steve turned, cluck, cluck, cluck. "This is ridiculous," Steve shouted as he chased chickens out of his house. "Fred, you're going down." Steve crafted a snow golem army and set them outside his house. That night, when Fred swooped down to prank him again, the snow golems bombarded him with snowballs. "Hey! Ow! Stop that!" Fred shouted, dodging snowballs left and right. Steve grinned. "How's that for a prank, Fred?" Fred laughed despite himself. "Okay, that was pretty good." The big showdown. One day, Fred decided to pull the ultimate prank. He swapped out Steve's entire farm, wheat, carrots, potatoes, with cactus. When Steve walked out and saw his cactus farm, he froze. "Okay, Fred. This means war." Steve came up with his most devious plan yet. He built a massive phantom statue out of dirt and placed it on a hill near his house. Then he filled it with TNT and attached it to a pressure plate disguised as a Phantom Fan Club invitation. Fred saw the statue and burst out laughing. A fan club? For me? How sweet! As he landed to check it out, Steve jumped out from behind a tree. Fred, wait! But it was too late. Fred stepped on the pressure plate, and boom! The statue exploded into a shower of dirt blocks. Fred hovered in the air, covered in dirt, looking stunned. Then he started laughing hysterically. Okay, Steve, you win. That was genius. Steve couldn't help but laugh too. Glad you enjoyed it. Now can we call a truce? Fred nodded. Truce. But I'm keeping the chickens in your house. They're kinda cozy. The aftermath. Fred and Steve became unlikely friends after that. Fred still played small pranks, like hiding Steve's pickaxe or swapping his food with rotten flesh, but Steve didn't mind. He even got Fred back now and then with some clever traps. The villagers, however, were not as amused. Villager Joe woke up one morning to find his trading post covered in slime blocks and feathers. Steve and Fred exchanged guilty looks. Maybe we should prank someone else, Steve said. Fred grinned. I hear Alex has a cookie stash. And with that, the pranksters flew off, ready for their next misadventure. Moral of the story: even the most annoying situations can turn into hilarious adventures, and sometimes, your biggest rival might just become your funniest friend.